the most overlooked guy in school, just landed himself the ultimate sitcom setup. He's now living under the same roof as 3 genius sisters, each a master in their own field. And now Yu has one mission. Try to understand these overachieving weirdos if he ever wants to get the one thing he's always dreamed of, a real family. Our story kicks off at the super prestigious Saika Academy, basically the Hogwarts of gifted kids, where the most talented students from around the globe go to level up in one of 3 categories: arts, sports, or science. Well, most of them are gifted. Then there's you. Our boy is the human version of a group project slacker, and to prove it, we meet him getting absolutely wrecked in front of the whole school during a physical evaluation. Spoiler alert, hand-eye coordination did not RSVP to this event. His name is Yu Ayase, and let's just say he doesn't exactly blend in. Why? Because his mom, Subaru Ayase, was basically a legend at this school. She crushed it in all 3 majors: arts, science, and sports. On top of that, she was gorgeous, talented, and did all her own stunts. Think Tom Cruise, but without the Scientology or the whole never-aging vampire vibe. She graduated top of her class with more trophies and medals than a high school drama about overachievers. So when Yu steps in for his evaluation, his instructor kindly suggests he try a little harder, especially since the 3 queens, aka the school's absolute top-tier students, showed up just to see if the Legends kid inherited the magic. But Yu shuts that down real quick. He straight up tells them, "Look, I don't even know karate, so if you're expecting some kind of action movie moment, yeah, lower the bar. I'm not my mom." Then, like a true underdog with questionable judgment, he throws himself into the fight anyway. And spoiler alert, it goes about as well as a raccoon trying to box. His punches mostly just rearrange the air, and in no time, he's face first on the mat. That's kind of been the story of his life. Everyone expects him to shine just like his mom, and ends up walking away with secondhand disappointment. Still, the guy's got mouth. As he's brushing himself off, he cracks, "Tell me what you brag about and I'll tell you what you're lacking." The other guy claps back like, "Bro, you're in no position to talk. You're literally the least impressive one here." Yu shrugs and agrees. "Exactly, that's why I don't mind losing." Meanwhile, the 3 queens, who came expecting a Hollywood sequel, are now just standing there like they sat through a movie trailer for a film that doesn't exist. So the karate dude felt like he had to keep the fight going, even though Yu had already accepted his epic loss. He squares up, ready to throw another punch until bam. Out of nowhere, a girl comes flying in and kicks him right in the face. Straight up ninja style interruption. Right behind her, 2 more girls walk in, and yep, you guessed it. These are the 3 queens, basically the school's own version of Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. Okay, not literally, but pretty close. The oldest, Kazuki, is the arts prodigy. The youngest, Miwa, is a science whiz. And in the middle is Nico, the queen of sports and certified face kicker. They look at Yu, Sai, and hit him with the classic, "You're really not good at anything, huh?" Yu doesn't even argue. He's like, "Nah, yep, I got the message. Already filled out my transfer to NPC High." But before he can make his dramatic exit, Nico tosses him a mop and a bucket. Yu's like, "Oh, wait, so not only do I get publicly body slammed, now you want me to clean the dojo too?" And Nico just shrugs like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Losers clean, that's the rule. A few hours later, turns out the kid's actually great at cleaning. Who knew? Dude went from human punching bag to janitor MVP in record time. Now let's rewind a bit and talk about Yu's backstory. When he was little, Yu wanted to be admired just like his mom, so he gave acting a shot. But compared to her, his performance was somewhere between and please stop. He tried other types of art, then sports, then hit the books hard. But no matter what he did, nothing ever seemed to click. Feeling like he just didn't measure up, Yu slowly started drifting away from his mom, and right around that time she started having health stuff, the kind that makes you cancel plans and eat more soup. While all that was happening, Yu found comfort in an old sitcom his mom had starred in. Think Married with Children, The Nanny, or ALF. Pure 80s, 90s TV gold. Her role was pretty minor compared to the big stuff she'd done, but Yu loved that show. And funny enough, so did she. It was one of her favorite gigs ever. That little sitcom became their bridge. For the first time, they had a real conversation. Not about fame or talent, but about something simple they both wanted. A cozy, happy family dinner. Just like the ones they saw on TV. Maybe when it gets better, she'll... Oh wait, scratch that. She's officially left the server I told you guys. She's not some kind of ageless action hero like Tom Cruise. He even left behind a little note saying he hopes the kid finds a happy family someday. You know, like on Full House. So now that the poor guy's flying solo, he needed a place to crash. Luckily, the universe handed him an easy mode. Some dude invited him to live in his home, Mikadono Manor, which is less house and more castle with Wi-Fi. Mr. Mikadono gave him a key like it was no big deal. Make yourself at home. You thought he'd be bunking in the attic or maybe a closet under the stairs, not staying in a luxury suite. Since he doesn't really know this Mr. Mikadono guy, he figures the welcome package might offer some answers. But before he can can open it. Bam! Flying kick incoming. He barely dodges it by pure dumb luck. That kick, oh, he knows it well, it's Nico. Yu tries to explain what's going on, but she's so on edge she slips, and let's just say she lands in a way that would have broken the internet if someone had recorded it. She jumps back up, angry up and ready to throw strikes, but Yu just tosses a towel over her head and starts drying her hair. Naturally, she's like, "Excuse me, who even are you?" But Yu tells her, "Hey, if you want to be a top athlete, you can't let a cold take you down." Somehow, that actually works. She lets him finish drying her hair. Just when things seemed calm, the door swings open and in stroll the other two queens of the house. Turns out they live there too. Nobody really knows what's going on until Yu's phone rings. It's Mr. Mikadono himself. He explains that Yu's mom, Subaru, was not only his friend, but also his biggest supporter. And now that she's moved on, he's stepping up to take care of Yu. He mentions he's got 3 daughters, and Yu's gonna have to get along with all of them. Right then, Yu remembers his mom's last wish, that he find a happy family. Looks like fate, or the script, is giving him a shot with the awesome Mikadono sisters. Of course, he promises to keep things strictly sibling-like, no funny business. It sounds like a dream come true, right? Well, not exactly, because the sisters aren't thrilled about it. They don't kick him out because dad said no, but they all think Yu's kind of a loser and not worth the hassle. Yu realizes winning the girls over won't be easy, but he's game. He introduces himself properly, but honestly, they are not impressed or even interested. So he goes to unpack and bam! He finds a pair of underwear on the floor. Turns out they belong to Kazuki. That's when he notices the place is a total disaster zone. Clothes and trash everywhere, and the smell, let's just say it's unique. Checking out the kitchen, he finds a mountain of dirty dishes, some broken. Nico is yelling at Kazuki because it was supposed to be her turn to do the dishes, but Kazuki claims she didn't have time. Yu gets it. Kazuki had theater rehearsal. At least Yu picks up the broken dishes, and the sisters notice he tried to help, even if he got frustrated and gave up halfway. Yu starts making his own breakfast and realizes his mom was kinda the same. Always so busy, she never had time to eat with him. He wonders if he can make things different with this new family. He sits down to eat alone when Nico walks in and spots the mountain of food Yu made from ingredients about to expire. Nico wants to try it all but is way too proud to accept. Yu says, "Fine, if you don't want it, I'm tossing it." She fires back that it's super unbalanced and she needs fewer carbs and more vitamins. For her, as an athlete, that stuff is serious business. The sisters head out and Yu realizes they'd rather be the best than just eat whatever they want. And he remembers his mom was always on a diet too. Then it hits him, each of them eats exactly what they need. Kazuki downs her nasty smoothie just to be a diva. Miwa fuels up on sweets to power her brain, and Nico eats balanced meals to keep her body in shape. It's not that they're selfish prodigies, it's that they're focused and motivated. Yu doesn't have to take it as personally like he did with his mom. The sisters rush out of the house, but Yu stops them and says, "You forgot something." They quickly check and have everything. So Yu tells them they're leaving without his blessing and wishes them luck. How cheesy. They leave annoyed by his jokes, but deep down they kinda like the gesture. Later, Mr. Mikadono calls to ask how the first day went. Yu says everything's good. He's getting used to it. He tells Yu that since he works a lot and isn't home much, he'll be spending plenty of time alone with his hot daughters and asks for a little favor. He warns that soon his daughters will hit a rough patch, something all prodigies face, and asks Yu to help them get through it. He promises that if Yu pulls it off, the daughters will open up to him. And I guess that's meant in more ways than one. Mr. Mikadono tells Yu that to start, he could help his daughters with their big upcoming goals. Kazuki's prepping for an audition, Nico wants to reclaim her national karate title, and Miwa's ready to defend her shogi championship. He assures Yu that if he can pull this off, he'll slowly start winning their trust and affection. Yu says, "You got it, I'll handle it." But deep down, he wonders if he really can. After all, these girls are total prodigies in their fields and he's just kind of average at everything. How is he supposed to help? He starts getting nervous about letting everyone down again. That's basically his life story, but still, he's determined to give it his all. The first step, cook a killer dinner so they can all get to know each other better. Nico comes back from training and nearly jumps out of her skin when she sees Yu in the kitchen. She totally forgotten he's living with them now. Yu's making dinner and tastes the sauce in the weirdest way possible. Kind of like a lizard flicking its tongue. He offers her some, but Nico, knowing he's trying to win her over with food, flat out refuses. She already bought her own dinner and has no interest in his mystery meal. She heads to shower, but when she comes out, she gets another shock seeing Yu cooking like a madman. He's taking this dinner thing way too seriously. He's got a pile of cookbooks open all at once. Just then Miwa walks in and Yu promises her they're about to have a dinner that's seriously next level. Nico tells her that won't be enough, then remembers when they were little girls and a maid would bring them food prepared by a sophisticated chef, but none of the sisters wanted to eat that gourmet junk. Nico goes up to her room with the takeout she bought, determined not to let anyone else tell her what she can and can't eat. But curiosity gets the better of her, and she goes down to check on Yu. She discovers that she's prepared a perfectly balanced meal for him. Ideal for an athlete, Yu seems possessed and tells her he used precise measurements to incorporate all the nutrients he needs. He combined a bunch of recipes to meet his exact dietary needs. Nico is surprised by the effort and finally gives in to try a bite. She tastes it and admits it's really good. Yu feels like the rebellious kitten has finally accepted his can of tuna. Miwa sees them and is tempted, but Yu prepared something different for him. Something to give him a good energy boost for his games. Miwa agrees to eat it, but only asks that he not look at her like she's weird. Still, if she tries so hard, at least she'll let him watch her eat. Miwa tells her sister that it's weird to see her sitting down and eating, and jokes that she looks a little fatter. Nico replies that Miwa is the one gaining weight, and Miwa says she's just getting curves in the right places. Nico warns her to see how long that lasts. If she keeps eating junk food and skipping workouts, she'll turn into a whale. Miwa shrugs and says she burns calories with her brain power. Even though they're criticizing each other, Yu likes watching them together at the table. Just then, Kazuki walks in and is surprised to see his sisters eating together. Yu tells Kazuki that he's made her a special rice dish that's supposed to give her skin a soft, healthy glow. Kazuki is impressed, but knows it won't work. She admits that Yu won her sisters over with food, but that trick doesn't convince her. Nico insists the food is quite good, but Kazuki rolls his eyes and says they look super geeky sitting like that at the table, and that's definitely not their thing. Neither the table nor the food. Yu feels like the last kitty not only rejected his can of tuna, but also scratched his face. Nico gets angry, takes the rice from Yu and starts eating it so it doesn't go to waste, but Yu protests that he's ruining the balanced meal and will end up getting fat. Nico tells Yu she was just trying to make sure her food didn't go to waste, but Yu tells her not to worry about that and that, like him, she should focus on taking care of her body. It's been 3 days since Yu started living with the Mikadonos, and he still hasn't won over Kazuki. He knows that if he doesn't get to know her better, he won't be able to help her get through those challenges Don Mikadono mentioned. So he decides to take a bigger risk. He goes to find Kazuki and spots her in a hallway surrounded by her fans. He approaches and greets her from a distance, but all the fans give him the side eye and recognize him as the total loser who's got no chance. They're wondering what he's doing with the amazing Kazuki. Kazuki tells him to stay away because he's stealing her spotlight, but Yu yells back, "Aztec, I've been waiting all night for you to open up, but you won't give me the chance. You know none of the others will compare to mine. Just try it and you'll see you'll love it." He's talking about food of course, but the fans don't get that context and totally freak out. Kazuki tells him to shut up and says they'll talk about it tonight at home, which only makes the fans think they're a couple already living together. Failing to convince her, Yu goes to ask Nico for help, but she's busy training with her karate teammates. He tries to say hi, which annoys her friends since he's acting like they're best buds. Nico is still upset about his comment that she only cares about her body, so she's not going to help him. That leaves just one option. Meanwhile, Yu finds her in the classroom, playing shogi on her phone, while her classmates complain about how tough the test was and how they couldn't solve one of the problems. Miwa, showing she's the smartest in the room, drops the formula pi times radius squared and totally blows everyone's minds. Yu walks in and sees her sitting alone in a corner, quiet and friendless. Which is weird because at home she never stops talking. Yu asks if she wants to grab lunch with him, but she brushes him off and walks away. She doesn't want him to see her like this. Not one to give up, Yu starts chasing her all over the darn school. Even though neither of them is exactly athletic, they end up having a solid race until they're both completely wiped out. Yu jokes that she seems like the lone wolf of the class, and she snaps back that she's not going to stoop down to his level. She's not interested in his random small talk and doesn't want to give it any weight. She's a queen, not like the rest of them. Yu says he gets it, but Miwa doesn't see how he could. He tells her he's a king too, the king of the short, clueless, weak and awkward, and that good looks he got from his mom. Total bait and switch. He tries to lay on the whole being different is what makes a special speech, but honestly, even he gets tangled up in his own words. Maybe he didn't change Miwa's mind, but at least he lifted her mood, and that's something. They sit down to eat together, and Yu asks for tips on how to win over Kazu. Miwa tells him she remembers when she was 3, Kazu asked her mom for a specific dish. Wow, that girl got some serious memory. Yu figures Kazu probably wants to eat what her mom used to make, so he starts thinking about what he can cook. Right then, Kazu stumbles in. Yu welcomes her, but she suddenly collapses. They take her to her room, and she insists she's fine, just a little tired. Miwa checks her temperature, and it's burning up. Nico slaps one of those cool forehead strips on her, and Yu makes her some broth. Kazu gets annoyed and kicks everyone out so she can sulk in peace about being sick. Yu's confident his food can help her bounce back, but every meal he brings back gets a note saying she refuses to eat that gross stuff. Fed up, Yu storms in to confront her. Kazu stands up to put him in his place, but she's still weak and ends up falling right on him. She says she's too worn out to fight and just wants to get better. Yu offers to give her supplements but says he can't skip his rehearsals, so he volunteers to help her practice while she recovers. He reminds her mom was an amazing actress, so surely some of those skills rubbed off. Thanks to some serious family favoritism, Yu landed his first acting gig at just 2 years old, 4 years before Kizu even got a shot. She figures maybe he's got some hidden talent, so she lets him read a few lines. In the play, Kizu is the prince and Yu is the princess he's supposed to be engaged to. Yu clears his throat, reads his line, and basically spits it out like it's bad coffee. Kizu kicks him out of her room right away. Yu begs for another shot, saying, "Hey, that was just a warm-up." Kizu rolls her eyes, asking, "Wait, I thought you've been acting since you were 2. Yu admits, "Well, yeah, but that was all family perks. I didn't even have to audition." Kizu tells him to go practice with his grandma or something, then slams the door. "You've gotten everything handed to you thanks to your mom's connections. You have no idea what real hard work means," she snaps, lounging in her giant mansion bedroom like a true rich kid. Next day, Yu claims he's read the whole script and wants another shot, but he still delivers his lines like a robot stuck on shuffle, so yeah, they boot him again. He tries again the following day after reading the script 1,000 times, but somehow it's even worse. By day 5, no one's even giving him a chance anymore. This isn't a cold anymore, it's pure laziness, they all think. Kizu's stressed because the whole play rides on her and she can't sleep. One night she goes downstairs for a drink and finds Yu watching the theater club's rehearsals. She kinda gets how he should deliver lines without sounding like he's reading the cereal box. Turns out Yu goes to school during the day, cleans the house in the afternoon, and practices at night to help her out, but still can't nail it. Oh well, what can you do? Still, she gives him full marks for effort and decides to give him one last chance. Yu botches the lines again, but this time she lets it slide and asks him to give her his hand. He does and thanks her. They're both shocked. After 6 days, he finally said a line like a normal human. After 14 long years, he nailed one line and dedicates it to his mom, who's watching from up there. Kizu feels a little soft seeing him this excited and admits he's trying harder than most, even more than her actually. She says she's hungry and willing to try his cooking on one condition: no carrots, peppers, pumpkins, mushrooms, or eggplants. Turns out all this drama was just because he didn't want her to know how picky she really is. The next morning, Kazu finally joins the rest of the family for breakfast. Nico and Miwa nearly dropped their forks for the impression. Was that their sister actually eating real food? Yu cheers her on for finishing her soup, but Kazu shrugs it off, saying it's no big deal. As long as there are no carrots involved, she's good. That's when Yu drops the plot twist. There were carrots. Just a few. Now Kazu looks just as shocked as her sisters. She actually ate it. Carrots and all. Yu feels like he just cleared the first major boss level. He managed to get all 3 girls to sit down and eat a meal together. He starts picturing the dream: breakfast, lunch, and dinner as one big happy family. But nope, that was wishful thinking. Before heading out, the sisters tell him not to wait up for dinner. They're all swamped with their own stuff and will be working late. Yu's used to this kind of thing. His mom used to be gone for weeks at a time. But deep down, that's kind of what pulled them apart in the first place. With no talents, no schedule, and 0 meetings on his calendar, Yu decides to kill the afternoon rewatching his mom's favorite sitcom. He dusts it off and dives into a full-on marathon, like he's training for a couch potato championship. He loves watching this perfectly quirky TV family live their best lives, and he thinks, man, that's the kind of family I want. Then comes the final episode. The dad tells the mom that since they never had a proper wedding, he wants to finally do it right. And they tie the knot. Watching it, Yu starts thinking about the 3 sisters, and he realizes getting them to work as a happy, functional family? Yeah, that's gonna be tougher than anything Hollywood ever wrote. And right then, the sisters come through the door, exhausted from their long, chaotic day. They walk in and find Yu crying in front of the TV. Kazu notices that the soap opera's protagonist looks a lot like his mother. He assumes Yu must miss her a lot, but no, he's just deeply invested in the show. He's completely emotionally invested. Kazu says, hey, you don't have to scrub floors or cook just to make us like you. Chill out a little. Not one to mince words, Nico adds, the truth is you don't have to do anything. You're basically a freeloader and we're kind of stuck with you. That strikes a chord. Yu snaps, saying he stayed away from his mother because he always thought her talent made them too different. But now he realizes that wasn't true, and what he really wants is to connect with them and form something like a real family. The sisters look at him in confusion. Then the show gets to the part where dad marries mom so they can finally be a happy family, and the girls have a brainwave. Wait, he wants to marry us. They're definitely baffled, but quietly each one starts daydreaming. Yu says, I'll start with Nico. And she freezes, mentally preparing herself for something awkward. But he just asks, when's your birthday? He explains that since they're in the same grade, he's not sure who's older. He just wants to know if she's his older or younger sister. The girls realize he doesn't want to marry either of them. And oddly enough, that throws them off a bit. They mock him, call him a stray cat they can't kick out, and leave him standing there like a used napkin. Nico storms off to take a shower, muttering to herself that Yu must be completely clueless. How can a teenager live in a house with 3 beauties without having a single hormonal outbreak? Then he hears a scream. She runs outside wrapped in a towel ready for battle. Is someone being attacked? Number, it's just Yu, moaning dramatically because she forgot to buy bread for tomorrow's lunch sandwiches. Nico tells Yu to chill. There's no need to scream over something so dumb. Yu insists it was important, but then notices she's in a bathrobe. He awkwardly tells her she shouldn't be walking around like that. What if she catches a draft in, well, some mysterious place? Nico snaps back that she only came out like this because he screamed like someone dropped the Thanksgiving turkey. Then she realizes what she's wearing, blushes and bolts back to the bathroom, flustered. On the way, she bumps into Miwa, who immediately clocks the red cheeks. Nico tries to play it off like it's just leftover steam from the shower, though deep down she's wondering if it's because Yu got a glimpse. Meanwhile, Yu turns to Miwa and says, "Perfect timing." He hands her some clothes he washed and neatly folded. She thanks him, but when she grabs them, her fingers brush his. And just like that, boom. She drops the clothes and goes red like Tomato. Miwa quickly tells him to pick them up and fold them again, while Nico watches closely. She sees Miwa's face and narrows her eyes. Miwa tries to cover it. "What? My face always looks like this. It's just my natural blush." But Nico leans in and says, "Wait a minute. Are you secretly crushing on Yu too?" Miwa freezes and blurts out, "Wait, too? What do you mean too?" Oops. There it is. She just confessed to something that was very not supposed to be out loud. While the two start squabbling, not quite throwing punches but definitely tossing some emotional jabs, Kazu walks in to see what all the chaos is about. Yu, unfazed by the whole soap opera unfolding behind him, says, "Hey, you're just in time," and asks her to help him put a big old pot away in the top cabinet, since he's on the vertically challenged side. Kazu helps out without hesitation, and Yu thanks her with a genuinely sweet smile, totally unaware that he's accidentally turning the house into a rom-com. Kazu turns bright red and tries to play it cool by looking away, but of course she turns right toward her sisters. Busted. The 3 of them immediately start arguing over who's blushing the most, like it's some kind of Olympic event. Yu, clearly over it, tells them to knock it off. "Your sisters, not rival game show contestants. Try getting along for 5 minutes, will ya?" One by one, they storm off to their rooms, leaving the house looking like a post-party war zone. Again. Yu just sighs and starts tidying up like it's part of his daily cardio. Then on the table, he spots an old photo of the girls as kids. It's adorable. Pure nostalgia vibes. You can tell they had a sweet childhood. Curious, Yu takes the photo upstairs to ask whose it is, and all 3 deny it like it's a stolen cookie. "Nope, not mine. Never seen it before." "Weird photo, dude." "Yeah, right. You know someone's fibbing. That picture means something to one of them. He can feel it in his protagonist's bones." The next day, the girls break the news. They're all headed out of town for the weekend. Theater show, championship game, regional qualifiers, basically the holy trinity of busy schedules. Once again, Yu's dream of bonding time with the trio gets killed by their overbooked calendars. Still, he gets curious, so he hops online to check their event locations. First, he looks up Miwa's game, then Kazu's performance, and finally Nico's tournament. And when he sees the locations, he nearly falls out of his chair. It's like the universe handed him a plot twist written by someone who ran out of ideas but ran with it anyway. That night, Yu makes them all some warm milk before bed. Classic comfort move before a big trip. But just as everyone's winding down, Miwa and Nico start freaking out. Turns out they forgot to book their hotels. Again, peak procrastination. Yu tells them to chill. He already took care of it. He hands each of them their neatly printed reservations and promises he picked top-rated places. Real cozy, 5-star-ish vibes. He hopes they'll enjoy the stay. Miwa looks unsure. "So 2 whole days of hotel food instead of yours?" Yu raises an eyebrow. "Wait, is that your way of saying you're gonna miss my cooking?" Miwa freezes. Realizes she said the quiet part out loud. Meanwhile, Nico's sweating bullets because she almost said the same thing. Close call. Yu promises he'll cook up something amazing for dinner when the girls get back. Miwa heads off to her tournament and absolutely mops the floor with her opponent. On her way out, one of the staff members catches up to her, congratulates her win and warns her. Tomorrow, she's going up against a real beast, like the kind of opponent that actually punches back. Miwa starts thinking she might need to squeeze in some extra training. But then she spots a poster for a cherry blossom festival. It instantly reminds her of one they went to as kids. And hey, wasn't that the same memory in the photo you found the other day? She finally checks into her hotel, and guess who's at the front desk? Kazu booking her room. Miwa's like, what are you doing here? And Kazu casually says the theater where she's performing is just around the corner. And right on cue, Nico shows up like, wait, why are you two here? And then boom, Yu walks in and gives them the sibling scolding of the year. If y'all just had one normal conversation, you would have realized you're all headed to the exact same place. To save them from themselves, you booked a shared room so they can spend some quality sister time. The girls are like, cool, wait, what are you doing here, genius? Yu proudly announces he's here as their guide for the Cherry Blossom Festival. Yep, the same kind they went to as kids. He figured it might help them bond a little. Cue dramatic sister meltdown. Are you kidding? We've got major events tomorrow and you want us to go frolic under some trees. Yu explains that the festival has a special shrine where people go to wish for luck before big performances. Nico rolls her eyes and goes, only losers wish for wins. Legends train for them. But Yu is ready for that one. He pulls out pics of athletes, actors, and other high achievers making wishes at that shrine like it's part of their pre-game ritual. Then he shows them the food stands. And okay, even the skeptical ones have to admit, it looks crazy good. Kazu gives in, says the place looks super aesthetic, very Instagram worthy, but then she turns to her sisters and goes, did either of you bring anything cute to wear? Because I'm not going out with you looking like you just rolled out of bed. You? Already thought of that too. He takes them to one of those kimono rental shops and asks the staff to hook them up. And plot twist, the lady working there instantly recognizes them as the Mikadono sisters and gets all starstruck, like she just met a K-pop group at her dry cleaners. Kazu gets dressed up and Yu snaps some pics for her social media. Miwa picks out a green kimono with cute little cats on it, but Nico isn't sold on the whole kimono thing. Yu goes over to talk to her and asks if she just doesn't like kimonos. She says none of them feel right and begs him to stop pushing it. She's convinced nothing would look good on her. The shop attendant chimes in, try this one. It's denim with a cool lightning bolt pattern, and she thinks it would totally suit someone as tough and cute as Nico. That instantly reminds Nico of a story from when she was a kid in Vietnam. She wanted a dress, but some jerk told her she should just get jeans because she was too much of a tomboy. What a jerk! Yu snaps her out of her daydream by showing her a pink floral kimono. Her sisters think he's lost it. There's no way their tomboy sister would wear something so flowery. Yu tells them to chill, reminding them that even if she's got tomboy moves, she's still a total knockout. The shop attendant thinks her denim pick is better, so Yu lets Nico make the final call. Nico heads into the dressing room, and when she comes out wearing the pink kimono, she looks absolutely stunning. The attendant, seeing this, immediately takes back her earlier words, folds them up, and well, you can imagine where those went. They finally arrive at the Cherry Blossom Festival, and as soon as their feet hit the ground, everyone's off doing their own thing. Yu tries to keep the group together, but it's already too late. Kazu's been swept away by a group of fans who recognized her. Apparently in Japan, being in your school's theater club is basically the same as being a Broadway star. Yu's plan to have a little sisterly bonding time smashed. Kazu's already switched back into full celebrity mode. Meanwhile, Miwa and Nico are already munching on festival snacks, while Kazu watches them from a distance with the expression of someone who definitely wants a bite. Miwa and Nico wander off to try their luck at the goldfish scooping game, but Kazu's stuck taking selfies and signing autographs. One fan even tries to drag her friend away, totally confused about the Kazu obsession. Yeah, she's cute, the girl admits, but let's not act like she's the lead in a Netflix rom-com. Right then, her friend trips, but boom, Kazu materializes out of nowhere, catches her midair, and poses like she's on the cover of a romance novel. And just like that, every girl in line falls 10 times harder. And as if that wasn't enough, she literally carries the girl bridal style all the way to the first aid tent. Yu follows close behind to make sure she doesn't disappear into the crowd. Once everything's settled, Yu pulls her behind some bushes, which sounds way sketchier than it actually is, and Kazu yells at him for being weird. But Yu just holds up a snack from one of the food stalls and says he was trying to help her enjoy the festival. Kazu tells him to quit trying to bribe her with food, so Yu switches tactics. He pulls out some band-aids. He'd noticed Kazu walking a little funny in her wooden sandals and figured she might need some foot TLC. Kazu tells him it's kinda creepy that he pays that much attention to how she walks. Yu responds, hey, don't judge my quirky interest, and gently lifts her foot. Sure enough, the sandals had given her a pretty nasty blister. He asks why she didn't just say something. Kazu, ever the dramatic, says she's the people's prince and has a reputation to maintain. Yu's like, that's ridiculous, and patches her up in a scene that feels suspiciously like a softcore Tarantino homage, minus the blood and plus cherry blossom petals. Meanwhile, Miwa and Nico are still battling it out in the goldfish game. No shocker, Nico's absolutely terrible at it. Right then, Yu and Kazu return to join the fun. To avoid another fan ambush, they bought Kazu a kind of creepy festival mask. But even with the mask, it somehow has more expression than her usual poker face. So hey, progress! They They team up and start playing together, and Miwa continues to dominate. She hasn't even had to change her scooping net once. Yu takes advantage of the girls being distracted to kick off the next step of his master plan, the lotus leap. In the middle of the park, there's a pond covered in lotus leaves, and rumor has it that anyone who manages to hop across all the way to the big torii gate will receive a spiritual blessing or something. Oh, and bonus, the winner gets a photo op with a giant floral centerpiece. The event host swears that if you set that photo as your phone wallpaper, good luck will follow you forever. And hey, if a man in a lanyard says it, it must be true, right? But Yu's real goal is to get the girls to take a photo with the centerpiece so they can recreate a snapshot from their childhood. Easier said than done. Some of the lotus leaves are solid, others sink like bad decisions. You've got to find the right path or end up going for an unexpected swim. People try, people fail, everyone ends up soaked. The staff casually mentioned that no one's made it in the last 10 years. The only ones who pulled it off were 3 sisters who danced across the pond like it was no big deal. Yu, of course, gives it a shot, and of course he ends up in the water. The rest of the group moves on to enjoy the festival, but Yu isn't ready to wave the white flag just yet. He tries again. This time he makes it a few steps further. Then splash, back in the pond. By now he's soaked to the ears and probably carrying half the lake's mud in his pockets. People suggest maybe, just maybe, it's time to call it a day. But Yu doesn't have dry clothes or common sense, so naturally he keeps going. He keeps trying, over and over and over again. It starts raining, the crowd is gone, the staff is exhausted. They finally offer to just let him take the photo even if he doesn't finish, just so they can go home. But Yu refuses. He believes those legendary sisters succeeded because they worked together. Miwa used her brain to find the path. Nico carried her teammate with sheer strength, and Kazu... well, Kazu followed along, looking effortlessly cool the whole way. So if they could do it, Yu figures he can too. After what feels like 10,000 attempts, he finally makes it to the torii gate. The staff gives him the most half-hearted applause ever and practically beg him to take the photo already so they can wrap it up. But Yu asks them to wait. He wants his friends in the photo. Too bad the rain's coming down, the crowd's long gone, and reality hits him like a wet towel. He messed up again. He made it all about him and probably pushed them into something they never really wanted. He assumes they've already gone back to the hotel, each on their own. Except, nope, they're waiting for him. They bought umbrellas. For themselves, naturally, Yu didn't make the cut, but they're willing to share. So they all head back to the hotel together, probably leaving the staff awkwardly standing around in the rain with that poor floral centerpiece. Those guys just wanted to go home. Later at the hotel, they hit the hot springs. Because let's be honest, no anime is complete without a girls relaxing in a bath scene, right? Turns out all 3 girls had offered to share their umbrella, which led to a very polite argument about who should get the honor. They settle it the only fair way possible. Rock, paper, scissors. Whoever loses has to walk with Yu. Yu realizes he's the punishment, but surprise, none of them actually mind losing. In fact, they were kind of hoping to. In the end, Nico loses and gets to walk back with Yu under the same umbrella. Let's just say she was a lot happier about it than she let on. She gets so caught up in her own thoughts that, without even realizing it, she starts checking her chest, like she's trying to see if nature's hitting the gas pedal. Her sisters are just staring like, is she really doing that right in front of us? But instead of being weirded out, it just boosts their confidence. They've clearly graduated from that phase already. They head up to their room and find Yu looking like a soggy raccoon in the hallway. He only came by to wish them luck for tomorrow, and maybe earn a little sympathy while he was at it. They ask why he hasn't showered, and Yu's like, well, I kinda forgot to book a room. Turns out he got so wrapped up in helping them plan everything, he didn't even think about himself. Of course, every hotel in the area is booked solid because of the festival, so his backup plan was to crash on the sidewalk. The sisters think he's an absolute goofball, but they're not heartless, so they let him crash on a mattress on the floor in their room. It's not that weird. He does live with them already, so sharing a room for one night isn't the end of the world. Yu thanks them and asks if they can just pretend he's not even there. But before hitting the hay, he obviously needs to shower. He's soaked, muddy, and smells like a swamp monster. Problem is, the room's kinda tiny, so yeah, it's going to be a very cozy situation. Yu goes looking for a clean robe, but the sisters already grabbed the good ones, and he's definitely not about to sleep in swamp gear. Miwa's like, nah, there has to be something lying around here, and starts digging through the drawers. Yu joins in, which, let's be honest, gets her a little more excited than she'd care to admit. Nico checks the closet but comes up empty. Yu walks over, takes one look at the top shelf, and spots a robe tucked way up high. Nico missed it because, well, vertically she's a bit challenged. He reaches up to grab it and accidentally ends up way too close for comfort. After a few close encounters of the awkward kind, Yu finally hops into the shower. Meanwhile, the 3 sisters are practically overheating, like a laptop with 47 tabs open, just from the guy standing a bit too close. Yu reminds them to act like like he's not even there so they can enjoy some good old sibling bonding time. But with the emotional thermostat turned up to 11, that might be easier said than done. Then comes bedtime. And here's where things really get tricky. None of them can fall asleep. They've got butterflies doing cartwheels in their stomachs. And even though they say it's just pre-event nerves, let's be real, we all know that's a big old lie. Meanwhile, Yu's lying there like a champion. Mission accomplished. Totally unaware of the chaos he's left in his wake. After the whole umbrella situation, Yu took the sisters out to recreate the childhood photo. The event organizers had already left. Guess they got tired of waiting, so they missed out on the official setup and the fancy centerpiece. Instead, Yu found a nice spot on their own and did his best to position the girls just like in the old picture. Only problem, none of the sisters were in the mood for a say cheese moment. Their faces were all full on grump mode. Yu tried to get them to smile. Come on, like when you were kids? But they were not having it. Luckily, Yu's kind of a lovable klutz. While trying to get the perfect angle, he bumped into a tree and ended up with a bunch of cold drops falling right on his head. The girls burst out laughing and that was the perfect moment to snap the photo. Honestly though, if you ask me, the serious-faced version looked cooler. Still, Yu was happy with the picture. It looked just like the one they took as kids. He reached into his bag to pull out the original and compare, but surprise, the photo was gone. Who could have guessed that jumping into a lake with an old photo wasn't the best idea? He emptied his whole backpack and instead of the photo found a note that said, "I got the photo back. Better luck next time." Turns out someone fibbed when they said they didn't want it back. But Yu wasn't mad. He was actually glad it made its way back to its real owner. With that resolved, he finally closed his eyes and drifted off to dreamland. Which annoyed the sisters because this guy fell asleep like a baby while they were all wide awake, stressed out over him. Nico asked, "Why are you guys still up?" But no one wanted to admit that a certain someone was making their hearts do backflips. Instead, they just turned over quietly and Nico said, "Maybe it's just cause it's been a while since we did something this fun." Kazu agreed, adding that Yu doesn't help with his weird habits, like picking out a flowery outfit for her, which annoyingly looked really good. She admitted that when she was little, she used to love that kind of thing. Nico added that she changed a lot too. That day, she finally saw herself without the usual serious actress mask she always wore. The only one who hadn't changed much was Miwa. Miwa started reminiscing about how much they used to love festival games when they were kids, especially the shooting gallery. She remembered always hitting the targets. Nico then confessed that Kazu would secretly help by hitting the target from the side with a second rifle, just so Miwa wouldn't get upset and throw a fit. They all realized they'd been talking about the past for a while now. Kazu pointed out that they used to talk like this all the time, but lately everyone's been off in their own world. Even though they live together, they barely feel like they're actually together. That's when they realized Yu was doing exactly what he said he would. He was bringing them back together as a family. And then we finally learn. The real owner of the photo was Miwa. She's genuinely grateful they got to recreate that special moment. The next day, Yu heads back home and sees the news. All three sisters absolutely crushed it in their respective fields once again. And honestly, is there really nothing else going on in Japan that the news has to cover a high school trio like it's breaking national headlines?